Let's start with a legend, Sam Snead. Snead was one of the greatest to ever play, with a swing so smooth it looked effortless. But as he aged, he developed the putting yips, involuntary twitches that made short putts terrifying. To beat them, Snead came up with a creative solution. He started putting croquet style. He'd straddle the ball, placed one leg on either side, and swung the putter straight through his legs, just like in croquet. It worked. The technique gave him incredible stability and control. But it looked odd, even a little undignified for a traditionalist game like golf. In 1968, the USGA and R&A banned the practice. They wrote a new rule stating that players could not stand astride or behind the ball when making a stroke. That rule is still in place today, Rule 10.1c. Snead didn't break any rules. He just found a better way to putt, and that was enough to get the rules rewritten. Bobby Jones wasn't stopped by rules. He set the standard for them. In the 1925 US Open, Jones hit a shot into the rough. While preparing to play his next shot, he felt his club slightly move the ball, barely noticeable, and no one else saw it. He immediately called a penalty on himself. Officials tried to talk him out of it. Fans didn't see anything wrong, but Jones insisted. He said, "You might as well praise a man for not robbing a bank." He'd go on to lose the tournament by one stroke. This moment didn't change a rule, but it changed the culture of golf. His self-enforced penalty helped cement golf as a game of honor, where players police themselves. While Jones wasn't stopped by rules, his example helped shape how seriously golf takes them today. Tiger Woods has influenced nearly every part of the game, from fitness to equipment to viewership numbers. But his most direct brush with the rules came at the 2021 Masters. On the par 5 15th hole, Tiger hit a second shot that appeared to bounce once, then settle into the soft ground near the green. He claimed the ball was embedded and took free relief, as allowed under Rule 16.3. But TV footage showed the ball had bounced, and under the rule, if it bounces before embedding, no relief should be given. The Masters officials backed Tiger, saying he acted within the information he had at the time, but fans were divided, and debate exploded online. This wasn't just about Tiger, it was about technology. High-definition replays and social media commentary were now part of the game. In response, the USGA and R&A updated the rules to emphasize reasonable judgment, protecting players from penalties if they make the right call based on what they know at the time. So, while Tiger didn't get penalized, his situation helped reshape how video evidence and real-time rulings are handled in golf today. Phil Mickelson is known for his creativity, but at the 2018 US Open, he crossed a line. On the 13th green at Shinnecock Hills, Phil hit a putt that rolled past the hole and looked like it might go off the green. Instead of letting it stop, he ran after it and hit it again while the ball was still moving. Fans were stunned. Under the rules at the time, this was a violation, but only a 2-stroke penalty. Phil accepted the penalty and kept playing, but many in the golf world were outraged. They felt it was a deliberate breach of the spirit of the game and should have resulted in disqualification. The USGA stood by the ruling, but the backlash was loud. It didn't just affect Phil, it forced a reevaluation of how rules handle intentional rule breaking. In 2023, the rulebook was updated with clearer language about serious misconduct and player behavior, giving officials more power to disqualify players for deliberate violations, even if the technical rule only calls for a penalty. Phil may have been trying to make a statement about the course setup, but in doing so, he helped tighten up the rules around intent and conduct. Bryson DeChambeau is golf's mad scientist. He brought physics, biomechanics, and data to the course in a way few had before. One of his key tools? Green reading books filled with detailed slope and contour data. While legal, these books essentially reduced putting to a science, minimizing the skill of reading greens with your eyes. Bryson also began experimenting with extra-long drivers, up to 48 inches, hoping to generate massive clubhead speed and distance. Governing bodies took notice. In 2022, they announced a ban on detailed green reading books, and in 2023, they placed a limit on driver length, capping it at 46 inches. While these rules affect all players, there's no doubt they were inspired by Bryson's methods. He didn't break rules, he stretched them to the edge. and when that edge started to affect the spirit of competition, golf stepped in. In the 2016 US Open at Oakmont, Dustin Johnson was on the 5th green when his ball moved slightly as he was preparing to putt. He hadn't grounded his club or touched the ball, and at the time, he thought he wouldn't be penalized. But after his round, officials told him he might have caused the ball to move, and gave him a one-shot penalty. It was a bizarre situation. DJ didn't know his final score until after he'd finished the round. The backlash was immediate. Players, fans, and commentators were furious at the ambiguity and the timing. The rules were too harsh and too unclear. In 2017, the USGA and R&A changed the rule. Now, if a ball moves on the green and there's no clear evidence the player caused it, there's no penalty. This change was directly influenced by DJ's incident, a classic case of the rules being out of step with fairness. For years, players like Keegan Bradley, Adam Scott, and Bernhard Langer used long or belly putters, clubs anchored to the chest or stomach for more stability. Anchoring helped players with shaky putting, and for a while, it was within the rules. But as more major winners started using the technique, the debate grew. Was it still a stroke if the club didn't swing freely? In 2016, anchoring was banned. You could still use long putters, but you couldn't anchor them to your body. This rule change wasn't aimed at one player, but at an entire trend. Still, it was players like Scott and Bradley, who had huge success with anchored putters, that pushed golf to make the call. John Daly, the big-hitting, big-personality fan favorite, found himself at the center of a major rule change in the early 2000s, and again in 2019. In 2001, Casey Martin, a golfer with a disability, won a lawsuit that allowed him to use a golf cart on the PGA Tour under the Americans with Disabilities Act. This opened the door for rare exceptions. And in 2019, John Daly applied for the same right during the PGA Championship, citing osteoarthritis in his right knee. The PGA granted the request, and Daly used a cart during a major, the first player to do so since Martin. Fans and players had mixed reactions. Purists argued that walking is part of the challenge. Others saw it as a fair accommodation. The backlash led to a clarification. The PGA Tour and governing bodies tightened their policies on cart use in elite tournaments. While the ADA still protects players with legitimate medical needs, the new policy made it much harder to receive an exemption. So while Daly didn't break a rule, just used a legal route, the reaction to his presence in a cart reshaped how the sport balances accessibility and tradition at its highest level. From creative thinkers like Sam Snead to rule pushers like Mickelson and data-driven disruptors like DeChambeau, golf has a long history of players changing the game and forcing the game to change back. Sometimes the rule changes are about fairness. Sometimes they're about appearance, tradition, or spirit. But in every case, the message is the same. When someone gets too clever, golf draws the line.